Is Corey Davis a sneaky start for Week 10? What sleeper tight end is a lock to get into the end zone this weekend? And who is the better dynasty running back, Le'Veon Bell or Todd Gurley? Plus, the Week 8 seventh-place team owner in the Football Guys Players Championship, Ryan Poole, drops by the show to break down the most difficult aspect of being a successful high-stakes player, cutting Will Fuller, and much, much more. We've got a great show for you. Dave Gerzak is here. I'm Eric Balkman. Stick around. Your high-stakes fantasy football hour starts now.
What more can I say? We top billing it. Valiant without billing it. Viciously found victory. Burnt towns and villages. Burning, looting, and pillaging. Murderers try to hurt us. We curse them and all their children. I just want the bread and bologna bundles to tuck away. I don't work for free, I am barely giving a away. So tell begging Johnny and Mommy to get the away. Yo, here's a gun, son, now run, get it the gut away. Live to shoot another day.
Broadcast live and heard around the world. You are now listening to the most entertaining hour of radio on the planet. It's the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com with your hosts Eric Balkman and Dave Gerzak. The High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour is your home for football analysis from the best fantasy players in the world. And now, because no one else was available, here are Eric Balkman and Dave Gerzak.
Nobody speaks.
Thank you very much, Rob. Greetings and salutations, all you Balkaholics and Gerzakin addicts. Welcome to the latest episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com. I am, of course, your slightly above average host, Eric Balkman, and my co-host is indeed the patron saint of fantasy football. He is the Dizzle. He is Dave Gerzak. Coming up on tonight's show, we break down the Cowboys' backfield, sans Ezekiel Elliott, and test Dave with not one, but two blind resumes sent in from the listeners, and a lot more. Shout out to the chat room right now. Feel free to post any questions you might have in there. If you want to connect with us on Twitter, the show is at HSFF Hour. I am at Eric Balkman. Dave is at David Gerzak. It is Facebook.com/HSFF Hour if you want to connect with us there. 347-426-3682 is the phone number. That is 347-GAME-OVA. You can also email the show at the inbox at highstakesfantasyfootball@gmail.com. If you have any questions for us, now is the time to send them. We'll try to get to all the chat room questions, tweets, and emails in the fantasy feedback segment later on in the show. Dave, very exciting news for me tonight.
Yes, tell me about it.
I don't know how much of the listeners caught last week because I mentioned at the top of the show we had some technical difficulties. I had my CAT scan tonight for these recurring headaches I've had for a month and a half.
And you're dying.
Came back clean.
Oh.
Well, we're all dying, but I will not be dying of this imminently.
You know, we've all got it, you know. We're all infected.
Whatever it is, yeah.
We're all infected.
That's The Walking Dead. They all have the zombie virus.
I know.
Okay, I didn't know if you were getting at that or not. So maybe
that's all it is.
I don't know, but came back clean. I'm very happy. So I am in an excellent mood tonight. We're gonna have a great show.
And I tore my medial meniscus today.
That's the unfortunate part.
I mean,
working hard today.
That's my self-diagnosis.
You being the manual
hurts.
laborer you are.
Yeah, I know, right?
Hurt your meniscus.
Yep.
Partially torn. Maybe they'll just shave it, and then you can.
Maybe it's stretched.
It could be.
Shave it, yeah.
Did you pull it, twist it?
I was just standing around.
And that's what happened.
Yeah, I took like a step.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Rotoviz.com/podcast this week. High Stakes Lowdown featured $500,000 at a minimum in winnings last year. We had Mike Kuzma, the Football Guys Players Champion, on, and we had the main event champion, Nelson Sousa, on. Fantastic episode. Mike Kuzma detailed, because when we had him on the High Stakes Fantasy Football, I remember I was very ill and was not really present for you interviewing him. So this is sort of like me hearing it. I mean, I listened to the show, obviously, but this is sort of like me hearing it personally for the first time. Mm-hmm. What an interesting story of what was going on in his house when he's seeing his score pile up, where he's, you know, it was the holidays and he had all these people over and they're all kind of whooping it up and drinking. And then he said, "Hey, guys, I'm about to win $250,000 if something happens in this game." And they're like, "Oh, what happened? What do you need to happen?" And it was the start of the game. He's like, "I need one catch from Golden Tate." And he's like,
boom, Golden Tate concussion up for the game.
I don't want to reveal everything about the show.
I would not have said that.
But he's like, it was like after that. Everybody thought he needed all this stuff. And then a great swimming.
You don't understand what one catch means?
There's a great swimming pool story later on in the show, too. So
is there a tractor
check that
story?
out. There's where he had toe thumbs. Maybe. I don't know. Rotoviz.com/podcast. Check that out. Let's get into tonight's guest right away. Let's bring him on, ladies and gentlemen. I want to welcome him in. He's got his start in fantasy football writing for BFDFantasyFootball.com back in 2005 with founder, well-known high-stakes player, and former co-host of this show, Lou Tranquilli. You know what's funny is, when Lou became this big financial advisor, personality, he could no longer give advice, fantasy football advice.
He was a big personality, financial advisor.
Huge. He's
like Tony Robbins,
no,
Tranquilli.
He's like the George Clooney of that industry.
Whatever, Ramsey, not Gordon, but the other guy, Dave Ramsey.
Yeah.
My millionaire next down the block.
But he still liked to call in to the show. We'd still have him on, and you would always try to get him to give a take on a player, and he would always, he'd be dancing around it like a player being interviewed by the media.
Yeah, it was terrible.
It was hilarious. Anyway, so tonight's guest got his start writing for Lou Tranquilli's site. He's played mainly mid-stakes leagues in the past, winning his FPC league last season, and was in Vegas for the FFPC main event for the first time this past September. And his lone football guys team this year currently sits in the top 40 as we speak. He's here to talk about it tonight. Please welcome into the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour, Mr. Ryan Pohle. Ryan, thanks so much for coming on the show tonight, man. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on, Eric. That's a big lead-in. I don't know if I'll live up to that.
No, listen, I wouldn't.
We do a lead-in for all of our shows, and we don't live up to it.
No, that's the thing. And honestly, I would not have built you up had I not believed that you were going to easily surpass it.
Actually, we're kind of like the Marines. We're going to build you up, tear you down, and rebuild you stronger.
There's going to be no tearing down on this show tonight. We're all about positivity.
Right.
My CT scan is clean. You have one healthy knee, Dave. This is a night to celebrate, which is what we're doing on the show tonight.
I'm putting most of the weight on the left side.
Ryan, okay, so we know you wrote. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, Lou will still give you player advice. You just got to ask him.
Right, we can't get him to say it in a public forum anymore, which is really unfortunate.
We just got to be private.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, I mean This is as private as a public forum gets on this show.
Right.
So Ryan, you got your start writing about fantasy football with BFD, but tell the listeners what you do for a living right now.
Yeah, so right now I work as a apartment property manager. I do that in the Madison, Wisconsin area, so I'm not too far from you guys. I know you guys are in Appleton, so.
So do you ever have to boot college students out on their asses? Oh, sorry, Bulky. I should have said the
That's
word.
fine. That's fine.
No, not yet. Maybe one day, Dave.
Yeah,
all right.
It'll come to
He's
that.
Trust me.
He's
not the bill collector. He sends out for that to Moose and Rocco.
The thing is with Madison, Dave, I don't know if you know this, but they're all pretty well behaved down there. It's not really a big, it's a heavy intellectual institution with very minimal partying.
Hey man, I'll give you some pot for the rent.
No,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the way it goes. Well, that's awesome, man. Dave, go ahead.
All right, fine. We have a
real fantasy question.
So
now.
Congrats on the success of your team so far. What can you tell us about what you remember from the draft as far as getting the players you wanted and what you thought of your squad overall right after the draft?
Yeah, it's a good question, Dave. It's weird. The one thing that sticks out to me from this draft wasn't until like the 6th round. There was a guy I really wanted, Jarvis Landry, and I only had one receiver at the time. So I'm just like, it was one of those where you're just like, hoping that the guy makes it to you, but you have to wait like 10 picks for it to happen. Fortunately, it happened, and Landry's obviously had a good season. But for me, every draft, it's like everybody thinks they have the best team, right? Like you drafted.
I don't.
You don't? Okay.
I've never felt that way after a draft. I've never looked at the board and been like, well, I nailed this one. This is one for the refrigerator. I've never felt that way,
right.
But I get it. But there's plenty of people who feel that way. Anyway, go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah. I feel like so much is just dependent on staying healthy and making some good waiver wire pickups. So I think it's always hard to know. It was one of those where, like I was happy to get guys like Hopkins and Fournette, but. How many people that drafted David Johnson this year were thrilled about it until, week 2.
Me?
So, yeah.
At least
Right.
one, buddy.
Right. Yeah.
No,
I had him on my main event team, and it sucks. It feels like your team's just done after week 1.
There's a guy that tweeted, and I wish I could remember who it was, but he said, he tweeted out after the Monday games, anybody else draft David Johnson at the 101 and start 9-0. So apparently he started 9-0 with drafting David Johnson.
What was this?
They're on Twitter, yeah.
Oh, nice little humble brag.
Did he?
Well, I mean, he's just
Right.
curious.
Hey, check it out, y'all.
He's curious.
I'm 9-0.
He wanted to
Lost
know.
David Johnson.
He wanted to know if there's anybody else like him. I don't know if there was.
No, you're the best drafter of all time, sir.
Well, I'd be curious, like, when he drafted, maybe he got, like, Kareem Hunt coming back at, like, the end of the second round or something. Because, I mean, then you could make up for it. But, like, for me, like, when I took Johnson at the main event, that was on the Friday after the, the Thursday night game where Hunt went first overall in my league anyway. And so, you weren't going to be able to recover from – I mean, it'd be hard to recover from it, but –
yeah, sometimes the ball just doesn't bounce someone's way. When you have the elite player that goes down.
And you can make the case that, like, David Johnson was not the only injury this year. There's been plenty of other first rounders that went down. There's been plenty of carnage.
Yep.
And it's
Zach Miller.
More of a Zach Miller.
Yep, there went my
decimating.
Ryan, in this Football Guys League, you waited until round 12 to take quarterback. You get Carson Wentz and Tyrod Taylor there. I don't believe
those are great picks.
I don't believe Tyrod Taylor is part of your squad anymore, but you still have Wentz. Given how well that this strategy worked out for you with Wentz, can you ever see yourself using an early round pick on a quarterback going forward in this type of event?
Yeah, I think, Eric, regardless of how this team worked out, it wouldn't really change my strategy. I'm just one of those guys that believes on waiting until the late rounds to get a quarterback. And I mean, I think nowadays a lot of people in the leagues kind of feel that way. So it's not as, common as maybe it used to be, but for me, that's what works. And you have to stick to your plan and go with it. So no, I'm always going to wait. I mean, unless a quarterback hasn't been taken until like the 7th round or something, maybe I'd consider it, but it's what works for me. And there's always somebody in every league, no matter how high stakes you play, that's going to take a Rodgers or a Brady in the 3rd or the 4th round. So
I agree with that. Actually, I hear a lot of that where I'm a late round guy. You put 12 late round guys, someone still takes somebody in the field. And Andrew Luck goes and there's a bust in the 6th round. We told you not to draft him, everybody.
I don't get that either, because I've heard, like you listen to different analysts and people talking that, like, I'm late round quarterback all the way, unless Aaron Rodgers is out there at the 203. What? Like,
those are the experts.
What in the hell kind of leagues are you playing in?
Expert leagues.
Oh, it's just ridiculous. But even an expert league,
they're not
quarterbacks
playing in the FPC leagues.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's just so annoying. Anyway, go ahead, Dave.
So, Ryan, speaking of experts, you wrote for BFD Fantasy Football.
Yeah.
So what kind of content did you provide for the site? Some of the MMA stuff or oh, wait, they don't have that yet. No, tell us what you did there.
Lou stuck me with the minor stuff. No, with BFD, when Lou first started up this site, it was a small operation. It was basically us, because he didn't really know what it was going to be. But I did a lot of just writing player articles because I enjoy writing. And then, throughout the season, I did a lot of like the in-season rankings along with Lou. So learned a lot from him. How did you get hooked up with him, Ryan? Because obviously Lou is not a big Wisconsinite. He doesn't come and milk cows here during the summer. How did you get hooked up with him? Right. Yeah, I actually didn't meet him in person until probably like 2008 when I first went to Vegas. I met him, but I met Lou just posting on some fantasy football message boards and just got into it. We started messaging back and forth, and he told me about the site that he wanted to start up, and just kind of snowballed from there. So
three inch boy was his message board.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yep.
So you guys must have been a match made in heaven because you liked writing and then Lou likes talking about himself.
Yeah.
That's so terrible.
That was such an easy joke, Bossy. I had to go with that.
It is. He always has so many thoughts in his head that he would just spit out like random stuff basically. A lot of run-on sentences with Lou.
Lou won't listen to the show
No,
anyway.
obviously not. No, because Lou's good. No, I'm just kidding. Ryan, you
hopefully he's not
I'm curious. No. Listen,
He won't be.
He's in bed by now. Lou, all right, Lou. Ryan, you when you were doing work for Lou at BFD, the big thing that we always really liked about BFD was the coaching tree that would come out. Do you still apply that coaching tree philosophy into your drafts now when you look at who has switched staffs, what position, what guys have been moved on to different teams? Is that still a big part of your pre-draft process?
I mean, Lou went so in depth with it. And I don't necessarily have the time to go that in depth with it. It's definitely something that, I think about and it's in the back of my mind. One of the things I really liked about Carson Wentz and taking him was, his second year with Doug Peterson, who, is a former quarterback in the league, obviously. So, it's something to think about. I tried to stay away from Falcons players this year, just, with Shanahan leaving, things like that. I definitely think about. I think you have to.
Yeah, it's definitely a key point in making sure that you nail those decisions based on that. We have Ryan Poole, the Week 8 Football Guys Players Championship team owner, in 7th place. And Ryan, I got to ask you, every once in a while we have on the show somebody who'll just play one singular fantasy football team or just maybe 2 teams or 3 teams or what have you. We've already had one this year. Earlier in the season, we had one. I can't remember who it was now offhand, but he had one FFPC main event team. Might have just been last week. I think it was Matt Berman. Now that I think of it,
it was. Matt. But I remember Matt talking about it last week.
Yeah. So back to back now, because you have one Football Guys team, one main event team. Tell us why that's your preferred. Preferred preference, for lack of a better word, your preferred preference for managing these high stakes teams.
Well, and it's probably maybe more common to just have one main event team. I know a lot of people have multiple, but a lot of people will do a lot of FPC teams just because it's only 350 versus 1750 or whatnot. But for me, fantasy football is a big part of it's just the entertainment factor. And I think when you get to that point where you have, at least for me anyway, when you have so many leagues, you don't even know who to cheer for anymore. I like to be able to sit down on Sunday and know who I'm rooting for, know who I'm rooting against. And I mean, I'm in 7 leagues, so I feel like that's still a good amount. One of the guys I sat next to at the main event, I was talking to him, and he said he was in 30 leagues, and I don't know where people find the time to do all the waiver pick. You need a whole day to just sit down and do all your waiver pickups and your starting lineups and everything. I mean, it almost becomes like a part-time job at that point.
I'll bring this up again on the show. I feel like I do this multiple times every year. I don't think I've brought it up yet in 2017. Waiverguys.com. Somebody needs to start it. You send in your your bid recommendations, your players, and they place all of them for you, and you don't have to worry about it. Yeah, just roughly this percent in this. You know what I mean?
You need to sell a subscription service where you just have someone else managing your teams.
Well, yeah, waiverguys.com. But you could
maybe that could be your next project there.
Well, no, listen, I don't have the time nor the know-how to start something like that.
Man.
I'm just I'm the idea guy. Yeah, I don't actually follow through on anything. I don't know if you. Hi, I'm Eric Balkman. I don't think we've ever met. I come up with these great ideas and then don't do anything with them. And I don't even know how great of an idea this is overall. I think it's solid. Anyway, Dave, go ahead.
So Ryan, other than this show, what's been the most difficult aspect for you in being successful in the FPC Football Guys contest and the FFPC main event?
I know you guys are bringing the heat on me. I think at this point, after playing, in the FFPC league for a few years, I think like the waivers kind of is the biggest challenge for me. As far as, I mean, not only the blind bidding on how much to bid for guys, but like who to keep, when to cut bait with guys. You know, I mean, I drafted Marshawn Lynch in this league. Really could have used him last week with, you know, Fournette, Bell, and McKinnon all out. You know, like I let go of Crowder, and, you know, he went off a couple weeks ago. So, you know, that can be a challenge. I mean, I think after the point where, like, you get your draft strategy down and you're comfortable with that, you know, the in-season management of the waivers is just so huge and critical, I think, to, you know, winning these leagues.
If only there was a subscription service that you could sign up for. Waiverguys.com. Check it out.
Right.
Ryan, you also you have a dynasty team with the FFPC, and Amari Cooper is on said dynasty team. Now, he obviously has had a weird season where he was basically non-existent for the first few weeks. Then he blasts off for that 44-point game on Thursday Night Football. Did you shop him around at any point this year? And how concerned are you about him going forward, given what we have seen from him the majority of the 2017 season?
I mean, I guess what could I have really gotten for him, I guess, Eric, you know, when he was going through that stretch? You know, I think that was a big thing. This dynasty team was actually a team I took over this year, and I didn't really have a lot of pieces for it, so my goal was to just kind of trade and get young guys, and Cooper was one of the guys I traded for. So, you know, I mean, I wasn't really interested in giving up on him after, you know, 5 games. You know, I mean, Cooper's only 23. I think he's going to be a force in the league for a long time. You know, obviously it's nice we got a good young quarterback in Derek Carr with them. But yeah, I like Cooper. I'm not gonna give up on him.
I own Cooper in one dynasty league, and I didn't even bother trying to send out offers. I mean, you're right, because I can't. I know any offer I get is going to be so low. And then somebody out of the blue offer. This was the night. It was like 3 hours before that Thursday night game, and the offer, it was so terrible. It was like Damian Williams. This is while Ajayi was on the Dolphins, by the way. It was like Damian Williams, James White, and some like Cooper Cup or something like that for Cooper. I was like, come on, guy. And then he blows up for 44. So it definitely
so that worked out well.
Worked out.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks that he keeps dropping everything that comes his way. I mean, that's a little disconcerting, but I mean, it happens. I'm hopeful. I'm not giving up.
All right, talking about giving up, Tom Savage is the quarterback for the Houston Texans.
Speaking of teams that should give up,
and Will Fuller, are you looking at Tom Savage's 43% completion percentage and wondering if you should keep Will Fuller? What do you think?
Yeah, what a hit that Deshaun Watson injury was to to me, having Hopkins and Fuller. I thought I was onto something there, but I mean, I think like if you're in a league that only rosters 16 guys, I think Fuller's definitely droppable. In these FFPC leagues with 20 roster guys, I mean, the question really comes down to, if you're going to drop them, who are you going to pick up that's better? I'm personally holding on to him. He did have 8 targets last week, so they're trying to get him involved. And you just kind of hope that Savage can figure it out. I mean, Hopkins still had a good game, so I mean, what are you going to do? Pick up, Bryce Butler? I don't see it. We'll see. What do you guys think?
Here's my take, because I own Will Fuller in a lot of my leagues, and obviously I was super thrilled with him scoring all these touchdowns. And I think the only way I even in this whole nonsense after the Watson injury, the only time I really entertained cutting him was if I with the bye week crunch, if I needed a quarterback or tight end or kicker or defense or something like that. And I don't think I cut him in any league, but he was right up there with I'd rather get rid of him and not take a 0 at one of these positions. But The great thing about me is I suck at drafting, so there's always somebody worse than Fuller on my roster that I can drop.
That you can get rid of. Right.
Yeah, exactly. Ryan, let's get to some emails here. Go ahead.
Do the FFPC leagues. What do you guys? Do you guys do a lot of like leagues with friends, or what do you guys do?
It's almost as if Farrell Elliott is in Ryan's ear, just looking for a Kentucky plug here tonight. We have private dynasty leagues that we play in, and then we play a lot in the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship, KFFSC.com, which I think that's like pretty much the rest of my leagues is private dynasty leagues and Kentucky, and that's pretty much the only redrafts I do. Dave, you have a ton of private dynasties that you play in, it seems like.
Yeah, about 8 of them.
Yeah. So we get our action in. But, you know, the other thing is, too, it's like I don't think we want to load up any more than that because, you know, we are busy during the season. It's a little bit difficult. It's also impossible for us, nearly impossible for us to, like, you know, do just a random redraft league because, you know, we're commissioning drafts for the FPC and what have you. It's tough, and that's what's great about those private dynasties is those slow drafts in May. Ryan, a couple of emails here from the listeners I want to get to. The first one is Roy in Little Falls, Minnesota. He says, hi, Ryan. Tevin Coleman or Bilal Powell this week? I'm assuming he needs to start one of these guys. So Tevin Coleman this week is playing at home against the Cowboys. Yep, and Bilal Powell on the road at Tampa. Your thoughts there, if you can only start one, who's it going to be?
You know, I think in general, I think Coleman is like a sneaky little start this week. You know, with Devontae a little banged up, and I think Atlanta needs to just kind of spark the offense and get him involved. But I mean, I think you have to go Bilal Powell after seeing what Kamara did to them last week, and I would go Powell.
You know, the other thing to keep in mind is I'm with you on because it seems like Coleman is sort of claiming more of a role in that backfield right now with Freeman banged up, and they want to keep him healthy. But, you know, with Matt Forte now listed as out this week, it's going to be Powell and McGuire, and that Tampa defense is so battered. I'm with you. I think it has to be Powell. One more email that I want to get.
Hasn't really showed much lately either, so. Yeah,
no, that's true. Rick in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma says, hi, Ryan. Are either Jordan Reed or Jamison Crowder startable this week? Good luck in football, guys. That is Rick in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Thank you for the email, Rick. Yeah, it's interesting. Reed and Crowder both listed as questionable. Yeah, they're both listed as questionable. Now, here's the interesting thing with Reed. He got in limited practice Wednesday, limited practice Thursday, and then he did not practice today. And I believe Crowder got in a limited session. So the question is, and I don't know, if you have Vernon Davis, obviously, if Reed's out, you play Davis. The question is, what do you do if Reed's active, you know?
I mean, I wouldn't want to start either of the guys against Minnesota. I feel like that's just a nightmare situation. You know, Minnesota's just been so strong defensively. They're not giving up any fantasy points. I guess I'd be curious who else Rick has for options. I don't know. I'd stay away from it if I could.
So they're startable, but definitely more of a last case or worst case scenario.
Yeah, I would really shy away from playing either one unless I didn't really have any other option. I mean, it's nice that, you know, Washington's getting Crowder back involved again because he is very electric, but I mean, they're both dealing with hamstring stuff. With Reed, you don't know if he's going to, you know, play and then, you know, get injured middle of the game. He's a headache.
Yeah, literally.
Don't Reed. That's my advice.
Yeah. Question from the chat room from our good buddy Wasp Guy. He's got to make a decision between Dolphins running backs this week. Kenyon Drake or Damian Williams? Which one are you playing if you have to pick one of those guys, Brian? Is it going to be Drake or is it going to be Williams?
You know, I'm a little biased because I have Drake in one of my dynasty leagues. I'm a big fan of his long-term potential. assuming it's a PPR league, I mean, I like Drake. I love the backs that are just involved in the receiving game. And, Drake just looked a lot better. He looked a lot more electric last week. That's who I would go with.
Oh, what?
We all love the Drake. We love the Drake.
That's right.
We don't hate the Drake. We love the Drake.
Are you guys with me there? Or?
Yeah, actually.
Yeah, definitely we are.
Okay.
Go ahead, Dave. Final question.
All right, my man. Give us a stud that you would actually consider benching this week and a sleeper that just might find his way into your fantasy lineups.
Yeah, that's a good question, guys. I would, if I had T.Y. Hilton on any of my teams, I'd be weary. They're playing Pittsburgh this week. First off, T.Y. is dealing with a groin injury, so that's that's always. He's such a boomer bust guy too. I feel like this could be just a bust week for him. Pittsburgh they haven't really allowed a big game to a wide receiver. They're coming off a bye. They saw what T.Y. did last week to Houston. I think he's going to be a big, focal point of their defensive plan to shut him down. As far as a sleeper, I don't know how deep this is, but I would go Mohamed Sanu. If you play daily fantasy sports, I think he's a fairly cheaper option. But this game I feel like this is going to be a high scoring game. Atlanta's back home in the Dallas has given up a lot of big plays to receivers this year. So I think Sanu could have a big game.
A lot of startable guys in that Falcons-Cowboys game this week, Dave.
Yeah, but Julio's getting his disappearing act on already.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens
this week. It's not quite fantasy playoffs. Time for him to go away for a couple of weeks.
To let us all down. Well,
see you then, Julio.
I'll tell you who did not let us down tonight. His name is Ryan Poole. Sat in 7th place in the Football Guys Players Championship a week ago. Still in the top 40. Congratulations on that success, man. That is awesome. I wish you nothing but the best the rest of the way. I know you have Lou Tranquilli obviously rooting for you as well. You never know what can happen. You have a very dominant team and a very explosive team, and that's what you need to win these types of competitions. Thanks so much for doing the show tonight. We'll talk to you again soon, man.
Appreciate it, guys. Looking forward to the rest of the year. It should be fun.
It definitely will be. And we'll look forward to seeing Ryan in Vegas next year, Dave.
All right.
Yeah, Vegas. So that'll be very cool. Great stuff from Ryan tonight. And I think we set a record for the most Tranquilli mentions since like 2014.
I know. He runs a very nice investment firm. So if you have some cash to invest, find Lou Tranquilli, investment advisor.
Yeah.
Thanks, Lou. I'll take a commission.
He will advise your finances and give you private fantasy football advice. Just don't tell anyone.
Yeah.
Which is
Lou's
basically
great.
how it works. Yeah. He's the man, and Ryan Poole is the man. I want to thank him for coming on tonight. That was great stuff. Let's get into the old fantasy flash here, brought to you tonight by Football Guys, RotoPass, RotoWorld, and of course Rob. Who I just realized in this, I didn't give our shout out to Rob, our mutual friend producer, at the top of the show, and our audio engineer Bryce, fresh off of Phoenix. Bryce.
Yeah, they
is that where he was? Arizona.
Quite jolted, I believe so.
Yeah.
He was fighting Milwaukee traffic just to get here tonight.
I can't see him from where I sit. Only you can see him.
He chose that.
Yeah, no, I have no doubt.
Sorry. Right, brother.
So Martellus Bennett had an interesting week, Dave.
Yeah, what is his deal? You know what? I'm going to learn something from whatever you say here.
Okay.
I've been trying not to pay attention.
We'll get into it.
Interesting.
Hopefully my Packer fandom doesn't cloud my mind on this one. Ian Rappaport from the NFL Network reports that Martellus Bennett has a torn rotator cuff, may try to play through it. He was claimed off waivers from the Packers by the New England on Thursday. Packers let him go with a failure to disclose medical condition designation. There's rumors in Green Bay that Bennett may have forced his way out of town after Aaron Rodgers got hurt, and obviously the poor play that has been exhibited in Green Bay since the Rodgers injury. Bennett says he is retiring after this season. Here's what I find weird about this situation. So Martellus Bennett said he's going to retire.
Was there a clip?
You think I'm going to bust out a soundbite here?
I thought there was going to be some sort of a
No, I don't know if you know the low-level production on the show.
Your pregnant pause was like triplets. It was too long.
No, I'm trying to, I guess I had a pregnant pause because I'm trying to sort this out in my mind, So
Yes.
My initial thought was, okay, failure to disclose medical designation. Shouldn't they have found this out in the physical when they gave him a physical in March when they signed him?
Yeah, you know what? I think this, I actually
Hold on. Let me get my whole thought out.
Yeah, go ahead.
Apparently, Martellus Bennett said they knew about it, and he said he played with the shoulder injury, and it got worse. And every week, I guess they have to fill out some sort of form.
Right.
And he circled shoulder every week, and they knew about it. And then he he told McCarthy about it. McCarthy said, get some second opinions. He did. And those second opinions apparently told him to have surgery. And then they released him. Well, he said that Pat McKenzie, who's the Packers team doctor, encouraged him, was really putting the screws on him to play through it. And which is kind of bizarre given that I think we all know from the Packers medical staff, they don't want anybody playing through anything. Think about how long it took Aaron Rodgers to come back from that collarbone injury. He wanted to get back out there. He couldn't get cleared. After Martellus Bennett said this on Instagram, John Kuhn and Jordy Nelson came out and said, we played there for the better part of a decade. It's been the opposite. Well, we're trying to twist the screws to get out to the field because McKenzie doesn't want us playing through it. I mean, he's like a super conservative guy. So this all happens.
Maybe they realize he's a short timer.
So this all happens.
Yes.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
Bennett passes the Patriots physical, is questionable for Sunday's game, and actually practiced today. So if he says he needs the surgery,
so he got picked up by the Patriots.
Why is he playing? I guess I don't understand this. If he's upset about the Packers forcing him to play through this, why isn't he upset about playing through it with the Patriots?
Because they're a good team.
Maybe that's what it is.
That's what the Roto-World thinks. So the Roto-World guy's right, I think.
Yeah. Do you agree with everything I just said? Does that make sense to you?
I agree with I agree with the Roto-World blurb. Yeah. Most of what you said.
What part didn't you agree with? Just curiously.
I don't know, Balky. I mean, I agree with what you're saying overall. Yes.
Okay, here's the thing. I'm pretty stacked at tight end in all my leagues.
You're a little more biased in favor of the Packers trainer, like he's some sort of
It's not that I think he's an amazing trainer. It's not that I think he's an amazing trainer. It's the fact that the history has suggested the opposite of what Bennett is saying here. That these guys want to get back out there and they're constantly held back because they are very conservative. If you ask anybody, the Packers have one of the most conservative staffs, training staffs in the NFL.
I'm curious though. Why are those guys always hurt on the Packers? It's seemingly more so than other teams.
Totally agree with that.
They're always
yeah.
They like I've said before, they need a person in charge of stretching or something.
Yeah, nutrition.
Yeah, Pilates, whatever.
Yeah,
acupuncture, do it all.
Let's bring it back to fantasy. I'm pretty good at tight ends in all my leagues, so it was difficult for me. I'm not trying to brag. Listen, the rest of my teams are. Listen, the quarterbacks, running backs, and receivers are lacking enough for these teams not to be great.
My kickers are amazing this year.
So I think I put in a couple of bids on Bennett. I don't expect to get him. As I'd just be drafting him as a backup. The two leagues I have Gronk in, I don't even think I'd put a bid in.
Of course.
Well, I mean, he'd be the Gronk insurance,
I'm just kidding, yeah.
Your thoughts on Bennett as far as fantasy goes?
I don't really care about. I think he's not going to do a whole lot because he's me behind Gronk. I actually think that if you do on Gronk, it wouldn't hurt you to grab him, but whatever.
Chris Hogan already ruled out for this game on Sunday. Danny Amendola, questionable, but maybe on the wrong side of questionable. There could be a role for Bennett right away.
Yeah, there might be actually.
Flip side of the Packers, I have no interest in Kendricks or Richard Rodgers.
Yeah, the team is a train wreck.
What's interesting is we made this Martellus Bennett bet early in the season.
What was the bet?
I think he has to finish as a top 12 tight end.
I was bearish, I would assume.
Obviously, yeah. And he could actually win this bet for me on the Patriots.
He's not going to do that.
I backdoored, by the way, I won both the wagers we had last week.
Oh, did you?
The Jordy Nelson one and the other one we made, Adrian Peterson.
The AP one you did very well.
Chris crushed it.
By the way, that's correct. This week, he scored like 5 points again.
If we would have made a bet this week, I would have had the under.
I wish it was like a whole season bet, then I'd be doing all right.
We definitely don't have any whole season.
My overarching point that AP sucks still holds true and is being proven week in and week out
Except for when he had the 37 carries and then the blow-up game with Arizona. So he's been too good to really bad. Speaking of the Packers, Mike McCarthy said he liked the rotation of Aaron Jones and Ty Montgomery at running back this past weekend against the Detroit Lions and tends to stick with a RBBC approach with Montgomery being the third down guy. This is according to the great article from Rob Domofsky on ESPN.com. Great article, bad news for both Jones and Montgomery. We talked on the show last night, Dave, the local show I do, the Appleton Trophy Fantasy Football Weekly Show on ScoreWI.com. You should listen to 15 AM, 1570 and 95.3, 5 p.m. until 6 p.m. Central Time every Thursday night. We said, what Packer can reliably be started right now in fantasy? And there were crickets. I believe there's zero. There are zero Packers you can start with any kind of confidence right now.
Well, you won't be confident, but I mean,
Actually, I said Mason Crosby. Which you could make the case for that.
Well, against the Bears, I mean, the Packers will score some points. The Bears suck.
The Bears' defense is very good, and I smell a wager now. Okay, how many points do you think the Packers are going to score?
17.
All right, I'll take the under on that.
All right, I'll take over 17.
Yeah, that's fine.
Fair
okay.
enough.
I don't know about you, but I have 5 on it.
I got 5 on it. GB over 17.
I got 5.
17's a push, though.
I got 5 on it. Yeah, I have GB under 17. Here's the thing. When you're throwing passes in the backfield 60% of the time, it's difficult to push the ball down the field and score points. That is my hot take.
Great.
Tennessee Titans wide receiver Corey Davis expected to see his snap count increase going forward now that he's healthy. Jim Wyatt quoting a head coach for Tennessee, Mike Mularkey, in his TitansOnline.com article. Corey Davis, last week, 39 snaps against the Ravens. His season high, the first 3 games of the season, was 42. That was his first game in the NFL. Corey Davis should be going up, Dave. I have actually deployed him in a couple of leagues this week. I may be deploying him in a couple more. I'm not really sure.
He's like a drone.
Yeah, he is a drone. Now he
like a bomb.
He has a new nickname on the show.
C-130, the drone.
The drone. Replaced, like we had the icon for Steve Smith. We haven't really had a cool receiver nickname. Corey the Drone Davis.
Not bad. He gets deployed.
I'm deploying the drone this week.
I like that. You know what? I'm down for deploying Corey Davis. I'll deploy him as well.
Do you own him anywhere? I know you got him.
I have 1 or 2 dynasty leagues and somewhere else. I think in Kentucky.
I'm just curious. I want to know the total on that Titans game now. It's only 40.5 at home against Cincinnati, so it's not the greatest matchup in the world. But
that's all right. I mean, he seems like he's getting targets.
Yeah, he is. He definitely is. So that is
no bet.
Your drone update. No, I think we both agree it's difficult to make a bet on that. Here's where we could see a bet. Alfred Morris expected to be the starting running back against the Atlanta Falcons this week because of Ezekiel Elliott's suspension. Assuming it holds up, Dave, I think it's safe to say that he will not be unsuspended before Sunday. Rod Smith will serve as the number 2 running back. Darren McFadden could be active as the number 3. You can read more from John Machota's article in the Dallas Morning News.
Oh, I'm sure people will.
There is enough buzz around Darren McFadden and Rod Smith, Dave, to not go gaga over Alfred Morris. However, I did bench. Oh, you know what? This is not a big deal. I benched Matt Forte when I found out. This is before he was listed as out, but he didn't practice Wednesday or Thursday. I'm like, there's no way this guy plays.
Yep, RDO.
On a lighter note, we had at a bar last night after the show, a local bar, we were handing out T-shirts for the show, and a lot of the guys showed up for it. And one of the big fans of the show, Three Stripe Dan, can't reveal his real name. He
big fan. Was he a 2XL big fan?
Maybe. He is a big Jets fan.
Oh, nice.
And he's like, who's talking about Forte tonight? I'm like, I was. Like, yeah, he's going to play. These guys are going to play. And I'm like, he didn't practice last 2 days. It does not sound like he's going to play. No, he's going to play. He's going to play. Sure enough, listed as out today.
He was listed out like last night, I think.
No, it was today. It was this afternoon.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah. So I benched Forte for Alfred Morris. So I am playing Morris in a league this week. I feel like I might have benched Andre Ellington in a league for Morris too. So I'm hopeful, tempering expectations. How do you see this shaking out between Morris, Smith, and McFadden? Are any of these guys startable for you? And who's the big winner?
I mean, you just have to go. I always have to assume it's Morris, even though he's not a pass catching back. I'm just, McFadden has fallen so far. You just can't even roster him. Rod Smith is a worthy flyer if you have the extra space, but I don't know that. I don't know that he'll really emerge as a dominant guy.
I kept McFadden around in a couple of leagues just for the simple fact that the Cowboys did. Like, why? And he doesn't play special teams. So it's like, why are they keeping him around unless it's for this reason?
I guess. I mean, if he was any good, though, he'd be playing. If he was any good, he'd be playing already.
But, okay, you can make the case that Morris is playing special teams, and that's why he was active ahead of McFadden.
That's fine. I mean, I don't know, but if McFadden had much left, he would still be active.
Okay.
They'd find a way to keep him active. He's not that good, obviously.
Well, I don't know if we could make the case he was maybe never that good.
Hey, you know what? Not that long ago, I remember Kimra, who's a fantastic player, drafting Jared McFadden with the 7th pick.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a decade ago. It was 5-6 years ago.
Was that when he was on the Raiders?
Whenever it was.
Okay.
Didn't quite work out that year, and it hasn't worked out since.
I didn't update this. No, I did update this. Actually, Rob updated this. Good job, Rob. Cameron Wolf on Twitter reporting Delanie Walker officially questionable for Week 10 against Cincinnati. He did not practice Wednesday or Thursday. He did practice in a limited fashion today. He's a baller. He's going to go, right? Any trepidation?
Walker goes.
Yeah.
I think almost for sure.
Bruised
ankle. Walker's going to play, dude.
But the thing is, he's had that, that was a pre-bye injury, and it's still affecting him. But he played through it last week and actually was pretty good. Didn't he get 6 or 7 catches?
There's a chance that he's just trying to take Wednesdays and Thursdays off. I mean, he's a super uber veteran. What does he need to practice Wednesday and Thursday?
It just might be a rest management thing. I think that the thing that irritates me, and it's this whole frickin' Fournette thing that happened when they held him out the week before the bye. I was just convinced he was going to go. It's just they're resting him. Oh, they're resting him for the game too, which was just sucked. It's made me a little gun shy. I'm a little hesitant when I see these guys get in the limited session on Friday. This is interesting, Dave. Interesting piece of news. The New York Football Giants have allowed a touchdown to a tight end 9 straight weeks this season.
Nice.
They play the Niners this week, who are missing George Kittle. We'll probably be without George Kittle because of injury. So welcome to the spotlight, Garrett Selleck. I needed a tight end in one of my leagues this week because I had Travis Kelce on bye. Selleck is who I picked up.
Nice. Yeah, that might work.
Does the streak continue?
I'm not betting against it. I'm not putting 5 against. I'll tell you that much. 9 in a row is a lot.
Yeah, it is. But, Garrett Selleck is also – I'm just going to bring up the Giants' schedule here. Because I'm curious who maybe they were all baller tight ends.
There's not that many baller tight ends in the NFL.
All there has to be is 9 in order for this to work. All right, so the Giants. Here we go. The Giants' regular season schedule. Boy, that team has fallen apart really, really bad.
Didn't play Ingram.
Evan Ingram's been. Yeah, Evan Ingram hasn't scored a touchdown against them.
He's like a top 4, top 5 tight end right now.
All right, here you go. Week 1 was Jason Witten. Week 2, it was the Lions. So I'm assuming it was actually Darren Fells and not Eric Ebron. Is that a safe assumption?
Probably.
Week 3 was Zach Ertz.
I feel like I should defend Ebron's on it.
Week 3 was Zach Ertz.
Yep.
Week 4 was either Cameron Brate or O.J. Howard. I don't know which one.
Yeah.
Week 5 was either Antonio Gates or Hunter Henry. Probably Henry. Week 6 was actually A.J. Derby, the lone touchdown for the Broncos that game.
Yeah,
week 7 was Jimmy Graham, and week 9 I believe was Tyler Higbee. That was their. Oh, they had a bye week, so it's been 8 games, not 9.
Well, regardless, Selleck is definitely in the Higbee category.
He's in the Higbee category.
Yeah,
but you know what? Everybody in the Rams scored last week. They put up 51 against them. So I don't know. We'll see what happens with Selleck.
It'll be very fun to see if the streak continues.
Yeah. Matt Forte out for Week 10 against the Buccaneers. Bilal Powell getting the start. Elijah McGuire will be the backup and COP running back this week. Gotta love Bilal Powell this week, Dave. I got him probably in 2 or 3 of my lineups. I feel pretty good about it. The only thing I don't feel great about is I probably should have put in for Elijah McGuire in a couple more leagues because the scuttlebutt today was that this injury to Matt Forte might be not just a 1-week thing.
Oh, yeah. That's actually a good point.
So,
I like the McGuire pickup. Some people still have him, actually. I grabbed him a few weeks ago. I like Powell a lot just because he can get gets third down work. And I think they're favored or close to it against the Buccaneers right now. The Buccaneers are really struggling. And they're going to be without Mike Evans and without Jameis Winston.
Yeah. Jets are a 2.5-point favorite in
the road, right?
In Tampa.
It is in Tampa. That's pretty crazy, right? Remember the Jets? Everybody thought they were going to go 1-15 or 0-16. I mean, they're doing really well. It's amazing.
We were talking about this game last night. You know who we loved in this game for fantasy purposes? All of us. Robbie Anderson.
Yeah.
He's been crushing it. Josh McCown over the last 4 weeks is the number 3 fantasy quarterback.
That's nuts.
I believe over the last 3 weeks, Robbie Anderson is a top 10 fantasy receiver. It might be non-PPR. Don't quote me on that. I don't think anybody quotes me on this show. But, Robbie Anderson, you might want to get him in your lineups, and I know a lot of you still have him. So the Carson Palmer injury, a lot of people were worried about Larry Fitzgerald, Dave. The last 2 weeks, with Carson Palmer this year, he averaged 9.3 targets and 70.6 receiving yards. That's with Palmer. Last week, first week without Palmer, 9 catches, 70 receiving yards with Drew Stanton. And
9 catches, or was it 9 targets?
9 targeted 9 times. And last night we saw what he did. It was 10 for 122 that I think he had. So if you're worried about Fitz with something like that, okay. I have to look it up. Wasp guy, I'll quote you on the assertion that nobody quotes you, Eric. Yes, thank you. Larry Fitzgerald, if you're worried about him with Stanton, don't be. I think is what we take away from this.
Yeah, if you get a 2-game sample, you can't be. I mean, it's not a lot, but it proves something.
Fitz gonna be Fitzin. Fitz be Fitzin.
Did I just walk on the Red versus Blue show?
I don't know what you're talking about. All right, for God's sake, let's get to some emails. We're running low on time again, so Rob, don't play it. Larry in Portland, Oregon. Does Devin Funchess finish as a top 20 receiver for the rest of the season? Thanks, guys. Thank you for the email, Larry. Top 20 is high, man.
It is. I'll say yes.
Really?
For $5.
Okay, so from week 9, FFPC scoring.
I wonder if I should
no,
do this.
wait, hold on. Week 10. Right, that's my point. You still do it?
Sure, why not?
All right, so I got 5 on Devin Funchess finishing outside the top 20 receivers from week 10 on.
And I got Funchess in the top.
You want to include? I'll let you do this. You want to include week 17 or no?
No, it's fine. Just 10 to 16.
Okay.
That's more like fantasy-esque.
Ship it. Witness. Okay, moving on. Is Christian McCaffrey now? Okay, so to answer that question, Dave says yes. I say no. Is Christian McCaffrey now the guy in the Carolina backfield, and Jonathan Stewart is no more than a handcuff? Asks Scott in Irvine, California. It's interesting because Stewart, we've been waiting for this. And we had all this coach speak. Ron Rivera gave him the vote of confidence after a not one, but 2 fumble game from Jonathan Stewart last week. You saw Christian McCaffrey last week get a ton of inside the tackle work. I think he's the guy now.
Well, on top of that, I mean, remember they traded Benjamin with the supposed goal of freeing it all up.
Right.
Well, I guess it freed it all up, like they said.
Yeah.
They didn't have this huge guy who's getting covered by safeties. He was probably getting covered by safeties all the time.
Yeah.
Or at least a corner and then maybe a safety over the top. Now he's gone. This huge guy's gone. And he probably didn't block all that well.
No.
And McCaffrey, it kind of worked. We'll see if he keeps going.
If you really wanted to free it all up, they should have traded Jonathan Stewart. That would have been
freed up something.
I don't know what, on the Matt Kelly's podcast, we did a preseason podcast together, and he and I were talking about Jonathan Stewart, and we could not be further apart on that. I compared.
He doesn't do anything. He's boring and crappy.
Tell me if this analogy makes sense. I said drafting Jonathan Stewart as a running back is like going to the office, okay? And somebody brought in donuts for their birthday. And you have all these wonderful crullers and triple chocolates and, sprinkled Long Johns and everything. And you're like,
can't wait to see where this goes.
I'm just going to, you know what? That's exactly what he said. And then you go to your cubicle, you set all your stuff down, you log into work, you get going, check a couple emails, like, okay, it's donut time. So you go pour your coffee and you go to grab a donut, and the only donut that's left is this nasty ass Bavarian cream monstrosity. And it's like,
with the bad cream.
Yeah. Like it just, and that's all that's left. That's like
the non-pudding type cream.
Yeah.
The creme.
Yeah, no, it is the pudding type cream, the Bavarian cream. I hate that.
That's the worst.
Oh, God, it's so it's the calorie count is awful.
You can't count calories on.
I will, because I want to get my money's worth on a donut. I don't want to blow calories on a donut I'm not even going to enjoy. So that's like what Jonathan Stewart is. you like go take care of, you go to your cubicle, you draft your receivers, your tight ends, your first running back, maybe a quarterback. You come back for your second running back, like, oh, Jonathan Stewart is all that's left. That's what it was like for me.
Well, I can't tell a better tale than that one, Balky.
There you go.
I just don't draft Jonathan Stewart.
Matt Kelly told me I set a record for most analogies on that podcast, which I feel I'm pretty happy about.
When you're dealing with him, that's pretty impressive because he's probably got a ton of them.
Yeah, he does. Question in the chat room. Wasp Guy, expectations for Juju this week. Does rumor that Martavis gets more work make Juju less attractive this week? I can't remember if we talked about this in the show last week, but I've heard this whole song and dance of we're going to get Martavis Bryant involved.
I mean, he was suspended. The point is he's suspended last week.
But that was before last week. They said that he was a part of the game plan and they're going to get him involved. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
The movie W was on today on HBO. I saw that live.
I'm actually starting Juju Smith-Schuster in a dynasty league this week.
I feel pretty good about it.
Yeah, okay. Let's put it this way. You have Smith-Schuster or Martavis Bryant as your last receiver or your last flex, the last guy you're going to start. Which guy are you going to start?
Juju for sure.
Yeah, totally. I don't think it's close.
Yeah. He has a better mindset, positive attitude. He's more Steeler-esque, and Martavis
he is more Steeler-esque.
Is not that type of guy.
For sure. You have
he's more Bengal-esque.
Yeah.
Martavis should play for the Bengals.
Yeah, or Brown-esque.
You're just saying he's a loser.
And that's coming from me. I thought it was interesting I think it was a tweet from a Steelers beat reporter this week, the way it was worded. Martavis Bryant was working with the first team offense in practice this week.
Yep.
That's cool. Like a 3 wide receiver set is still working with the first team offense.
Right, yeah.
Oh, so he's ahead of Eli Rogers. Thank God we know that. And maybe I can't imagine that he was working ahead of Juju Smith-Schuster.
Maybe they're just trying to stir up some get a few listeners.
I guess. Moving on. Dear Balky and Dave, my dynasty trade deadline is Sunday at 1. I have an offer on the table where I can swap Gurley for Le'Veon Bell. Would you guys do it? Thank you in advance. He wrote it out. Eddie in Greensboro, North Carolina. TYIA. So, Dave, it comes down to this. Who'd you rather have in dynasty, Gurley or Le'Veon Bell?
It's actually kind of a tough question.
Very tough. I wrestled with this.
Because you have Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon Bell has just produced better stats over the years.
Yes.
But you have Big Ben, who's
on pace for, by the way, a historic year again this year.
Yeah, I mean, Big Ben, but he's got a few little chinks in the armor. He's got always got the pot hanging over his head, and don't remember what's going on there.
Heavy usage right now. Not of pot, just snap wise.
He's had some injury issues.
Yep.
And you have, the Rams are really on the upswing. I mean, Goff is crushing it.
Peter King just projected them to win the Super Bowl.
And Peter King is stepping out.
Sean McVay knows how to. I saw a great tweet, and I can't remember who I said it. The Rams put up 51 points this week, and somebody tweeted out, the last time the Rams put up 51 points was weeks 1 through 8 in 2015 under Jeff Fisher, which I thought was hilarious.
That's really funny.
Anyway, Gurley versus Bell.
You're
thinking this out in your head.
Yeah, and Bell is a free agent after this year. I think he's probably restricted of some sort. They could franchise.
They're going to franchise him.
But I don't feel as confident about the Steelers' future. I'm going to probably go Gurley, I guess.
You own Le'Veon Bell right now in a dynasty league. If somebody offers you Todd Gurley for him, straight up, you're doing that trade.
Possibly.
Okay. I own Gurley right now, and I can tell you this, and I haven't been hot about this, but I feel pretty confident in it. If somebody offered Bell straight up for Gurley, I would turn him down.
You would turn around.
I would rather have Gurley.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. And honestly, if there's anybody out there that plays in a dynasty league with me that owns Todd Gurley, I don't think I have Le'Veon Bell in any leagues, but I would definitely do that deal.
In one league, actually, I'm fortunate enough to own Bell and Gurley.
Oh, really?
The Fantasy Sharks League.
Oh, how about that? So you don't even have to make that call.
It's pretty choice.
The life of Dave.
You know what? And that's only.
I can't answer that question, Balky. I own them both.
I have both.
Yeah.
You know what that means? It means I sucked for like 2 straight years in that league.
Or you just
made a couple good picks there.
You hustled somebody on a trade. That could
I think I did draft them both.
Bill in Lomax, Texas. Hey, guys.
Because I did suck.
Yes.
2 years ago.
Okay, there you go. Bill in Lomax, Texas. Hey, guys. Curious of your thoughts on where you think Alvin Kamara gets drafted next season in Football Guys leagues. Kamara, Dave, has been, I believe both he and Mark Ingram have been top 10 running backs in PPR leagues this year. It's been crazy. People have been starting them both. And not only is it not an insane thing to do, it's been correct. It's been the right thing to do when you get both those guys in your lineup because they're crushing it every single week. Now, you look at Kamara and where he gets drafted. I don't know if you agree with this. As I look towards next year, a lot of stuff can happen. Obviously, the rookies we're going to have to deal with and guys coming back from injury. I think Alvin Kamara in Football Guys leagues, to me, will probably go in that 4th round area. I don't feel that's an overdraft. I think that's solid value if you can get him there, and I think that's where he ends up going. Where do you think Alvin Kamara gets drafted next year in Football Guys?
I think it might be a little earlier, actually.
How early?
3rd
round?
Are you assuming that means? I'm sorry if you.
Yeah, I'm assuming Ingram's going to be there.
Yeah, maybe not that much earlier though. If Ingram's still there and all that.
Now, if Ingram's gone and they bring in like Travaris Cadet or, LeGarrette Blount or somebody like that, then all of a sudden you're talking about Kamara maybe being a 2nd round pick.
Yeah, and did you mention what's he ranked right now in the season? Did you mention that?
He's top 10 somewhere in PPR. I don't know exactly where he's at.
Yeah, I mean, he's doing really, really well.
He's crushing it.
Yeah, fantastic.
Producing fantastic value for where you got him, which I'm assuming most people got him in double-digit rounds, or at least a fringe double-digit round. He's been great, and you're gonna have to pay a premium for him next year. Tom in Miami, Florida. What Buccaneers are still worth starting with Fitzmagic running things? Also, is Chris Godwin worth a start with no Evans this weekend? Love the show. We love you, Tom in Miami, Florida. Mike Evans out. You starting Chris Godwin anywhere? I didn't even pick him up anywhere, to be honest with you.
Probably not.
It's Ryan Fitzpatrick. I mean, even if
he'll probably do all right. That game might have a little more scoring than we would think.
I don't know. I am very bearish on that game. Although I had to. Who did I have on bye this week? Somebody. It wasn't Carson Wentz. It was. I was missing a quarter. Oh, you know what it was? It was Winston. He was my only quarterback, and I needed to pick somebody up, and I picked up Fitzpatrick. So I'm playing him.
Bad.
I'm playing him this week. We'll see what happens.
DJX could be okay.
Yeah, we'll see. I think it's going to be a good week from Cameron Brate, personally. That's where I see those targets.
I have a tough time trusting Brate when you have Howard sitting there and doing well occasionally.
Occasionally, yeah.
I mean, not but he's sucking up some time, and he's the more talented player overall.
If you listen to the Kentucky podcast with Farrell Elliott and Rob Fetcher, Farrell's been saying they finally had that blow-up game where both Brate and Howard had a good game, and Farrell's been saying like that all of a sudden the light turned on and Tampa knows how to use both these guys, and they've been screwing it up all season long. So they should have dialed up the old Farrell offense.
Well, I mean, and if you actually were playing Evans, D. Jackson, both those tight ends at one time, that's pretty impressive. A bunch of route runners, actually.
Yeah. All right. So no to Godwin. I'm not really playing any Buccaneers except for Brate. You like D-Jax.
Sort of like D-Jax, I mean, because he's a deep threat, it still kind of sucks.
Would you start him?
I mean, if I have to.
As like a top 30 guy this week?
Nah, not quite. I'd probably find somebody else.
Okay. Here we go. Here's the fun part of the show, because we're more than an hour in. Damien in Dayton, Ohio.
Is at the end? Oh,
what?
Nothing.
Whatever. If we're not going to sell it, nobody else is.
Oh, right.
I have a triple blind resume for you, Dave. Who are the 3 players in the NFL this season with at least, this is pretty easy, actually. I mean, just to.
Thanks.
No, it's not pretty easy to figure it out. It's just, you won't have to write this down. 3 players in the NFL this season, 300 rushing yards, 300 receiving yards, and 5 touchdowns. At least 300, at least 300, at least 5. There's 3 players in the NFL that have hit those marks, Dave. Can you name me which 3 players they are?
3 or 5?
There's 3 that have done this.
Oh.
5, at least 5 touchdowns, at least 300 rushing yards, and at least 300 receiving yards.
All right, let's go with 300 receiving yards. Le'Veon Bell.
Incorrect.
Well, I'm out.
No, okay, I'll give you 2 more guesses. We'll do it baseball rules. You get strikes 1, 2, and 3. I'll give you a hint. We talked about 2 of these guys already on the show tonight.
Elliott?
No.
And Hunt.
Hunt is 1.
Great.
So you have.
So it was 1 for 3.
Yeah, but you get 2 more guesses here.
Why?
Because we're doing baseball rules, or you get 3 strikes and you're out, or Family Feud rules, to put it in terms you would understand.
I've missed twice already. Why do I get 2 more?
Oh, you have missed twice. Okay, you have 1. You're on your last strike. Okay.
So I've said Bell, Elliott, Hunt so far.
Yep. There's 2 more, and I can tell you one was a 2nd or 3rd round pick, I want to say, and usually probably 2nd round pick in drafts, and
I'll say Gurley.
Gurley, there you go.
That was terrible. I should have.
And one that was way, way, way down there as far as drafts. He's been crushing it this year. Talked to him already on the show, maybe somewhat recently.
Kamara, really?
Yes.
Wow.
Alvin Kamara is the third
I'm
member of that.
Kamara, Balky.
That's fine. He doesn't care. He said either way. He is very Steeler-esque in his personality too, although he plays for the Saints. Okay, here's another blind resume. Danny in Columbia, South Carolina.
I was thinking this is like a
I know,
test
but putting it.
Wasp guy's embarrassed for me.
Hello, fantasy detectives. Here's a blind resume for you. There's a lot of information here. I don't believe you'll have to write this down. I finished as the 209 in FFPC ADP and the 7th receiver off the board. Despite playing in every game with my starting quarterback so far, I have 0 100-yard receiving games and have only had more than 65 yards receiving twice. Who am I, and are you worried about me? That is Danny in Columbia, South Carolina.
So you said no 100-yard games?
No 100-yard games. He's topped 65 receiving yards twice. Let's answer this question. The second.
Des Bryant.
I guess you got it.
Woo!
So are you worried about him?
In life?
No, not in life. In fantasy.
Not that much. I mean, he's kind of
banged up coming into this game.
A little worse than I would have gathered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was reading a lot of articles this week on, who to buy or trade for right now, and Des Bryant was coming up on a lot of those as a guy you should get now.
I don't know if I would do that, though.
I don't know if I would either.
Once again, they still, as I've said time and again, they don't know how to use him, or he doesn't prefer to run inside. They don't use him in the slot frequently. They don't put him in motion. Hey, just go over there by the 10. Go way out there by the yard marker.
Yeah.
It's just a waste of talent.
And you also have, and maybe this was the impotence for
impotence?
Impotence?
Impetus?
Impetus?
I-M-P-E-T-U-S, impetus. From the Latin for imp.
Maybe this is the impetus for writing this, but you don't have Ezekiel Elliott the next 6 weeks, and your running game will be slightly less reliable with Alfred Morris driving that car. Maybe that's why Des Bryant is more of a buy right now.
Yeah, I mean, that can make sense. He'd be more of a focal point of the offense.
Terrence Williams was great last week, though.
He was, but I will say, we did kind of talk about this. I thought Dak Prescott would be a good guy to get as a second-year quarterback who's going to emerge kind of like a la Russell Wilson, and he's doing fantastically well.
I believe he is Fantasy Pro's #1 ranked quarterback this week.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm curious as to where he ranks in dynasty rankings. He's got to be up there.
I would think. I mean, as far as quarterbacks.
Yeah, quarterback rankings way up there. I would think so.
ESPN had an interesting article this week projecting who every team's quarterback would be in 2020. That was kind of fun to read. I mean, obviously just nonsense, but still fun to read. Yeah. You know what they had for Packers in 2020?
No.
Brett Favre. Thought that was kind of a reach, but
that's hilarious.
Check out that article.
Was this The Onion?
No, it was ESPN. They didn't have Favre. Bernie in Valdosta.
Wasn't that funny? Oh,
Valdosta, Georgia. Whatever. Would you be trotting out Charles Clay if he's active in his first game back this weekend in a Football Guys League? Good luck to your squads. Thank you, Bernie.
Who is it?
In Valdosta, Georgia. The tight end for the Buffalo Football Bills, Charles Clay. Clay.
Bill Clay?
Bill Clay.
Yeah, I'd feel okay.
McLean.
Putting Charles Clay out there. Why not?
I would too.
He's great.
He's listed as questionable, so obviously you might have to sweat a little bit, but he practiced this week. I think he's coming back. I'll tell you.
So too. I think he's going to be fine.
You know who I would be worried about on that team?
Nick O'Leary?
Obviously, yeah, Kelvin Benjamin.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
he sucks in general, That's why he got traded.
Yeah, that's like saying, you know who I'm worried about, Balky, is Geronimo Allison.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know if he's going to produce this week.
Probably not.
Al in Southfield, Michigan. I'm in a bad way with Tyreek Hill, Alshon Jeffrey, and Michael Crabtree all on bye. Should I start Jermaine Kearse at Tampa or Marquise Goodwin versus the Giants? That is Al in Southfield, Michigan. Certainly a quandary. We hope nobody is in except for him because that ain't great. Would you rather play Kearse or Goodwin?
I would roll out Goodwin, actually. And the reason is that Kearse has just done miserably in the past 3 weeks.
Look at the touchdowns, though. Look at the touchdowns.
The last 3 weeks, 9.9 points, 3.4 points, and 5.8 points. He's been terrible. And then even before that, he's had a couple good weeks. A couple, like two or three. Godwin is actually talented. I think why not give him a shot because Kearse is just not that good.
Is Godwin not the Niners' #1 receiver right now?
Buccaneers.
No, this is not. I'm sorry. Did I read? I don't know. I said Marquise Goodwin. Yeah, not Godwin.
I thought you said Godwin.
I might have. I
might have misheard you.
So hold on. You would play Godwin over Curse?
Yep. So for sure, I'm playing Goodwin over him.
Oh my gosh. I don't know if I would play Goodwin against Janoris Jenkins this week. I think I would roll with Curse over Goodwin.
Nah, I don't like Curse. You know what? I'll bet you. I'll take Goodwin over Curse.
Okay. Would you also take Godwin?
I would. You want to do a double?
You do a double? So I have Curse. These are two separate ones, right?
Sure.
It's not one single.
This will be super fun.
Curse versus Goodwin, and Curse versus.
This is great.
Godwin.
I love it.
Oh, this is fantastic.
You won't get these types of bets on the ESPN hour.
You will not. I have 5 on both.
I have $10 total on the 2 of them.
Lunas?
I got 5 on it. I got 5 on it.
You got to play it twice.
Do you know there's a show? It's on Fox
Godwin.
Sports. It's with Brad Evans from Yahoo and some other guy. It's literally called the Fantasy Football Hour. Just started this. Yeah. We're not getting royalties from that. People just stealing our ideas left and right again. Mm-hmm. So annoying.
They didn't check the high stakes part of it, obviously.
No, obviously not.
They don't care.
No.
You know what? We don't care about them.
And they don't care about us. Moving on. Final email tonight before we wrap her up. Hello, Larry and Richard. Looking for some flex help from you. Larry and Richard? Who the hell would... Curb Your Enthusiasm. Looking for some flex help from you. Would you start Kroll or Rashard Matthews this week? Thank you. That is John in Boston, Massachusetts.
Yes, that's where Boston is.
No, I'm just reading current brief posted. This is your Who's on First Classic, Goodwin versus Godwin. Okay, so that's his question. He's got to start one of those
Cleveland
guys that flex.
Kroll sucks. I'll start Matthews.
Even with Corey Davis getting an uptick in snaps, Eric Decker still farting around. We both believe Delaney Walker's going to play.
Matthews did well last week.
Well, you have an answer for everybody on this Titans offense.
I'm trying to help you out.
Cleveland at Detroit. Yeah, I mean.
Cleveland's just waiting for Josh Gordon to come back. You know, if Gordon was playing this week, I would have bet him against.
Who would you rather?
It would have been a Goodwin, Godwin, Gordon bet.
I'm asking you this: who would you rather roster in a redraft league the rest of the way? First of all, I agree with them. I'm playing Matthews over. I'm playing Matthews over Kroll. I just can't start Kroll. You know, he got dropped in one of my Kentucky leagues a few weeks back.
Really?
Yeah, and somebody I put in a bid for like $40 on him just because that's all I thought he was worth. Somebody won him for like $450.
You know what's funny is this past off season, it was right around the draft. Actually, it was right after the draft. Joe Williams, remember he got drafted by the Niners?
Sure did.
And he's been terrible, right? It's like
he's on IR.
Yeah.
Can't be too successful there.
So right after that time, right around the draft, I traded away Crowell for Williams. Like this is, and then so then like as the whole fantasy season was coming up, Crowell's getting drafted in the 3rd round. I'm like, God, I'm such a moron.
Hold on, I know where this is going.
You do know where it's going because I don't even regret the trade anymore.
So if I would
do it again.
This is a Carrington.
It was a Carrington
with
Fred,
our former co-host of the show.
Right.
So if he said, "Hey Dave, do you want Kroll back for Joe Williams?" You would say,
I'd probably say no.
Get the hell out of here.
Yeah, I got Williams on IR already.
All right.
Parked there.
Okay. Well, that's fair enough, and we answered that question. Oh, I know the other question I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
Redraft league. You can only roster one of these guys the rest of the way. Josh Gordon or Corey Coleman.
Redraft. Wow, that's interesting. So when is Gordon supposed to come back? He's getting not that long.
No, I think he can come back week 13 is the earliest he can come back.
And Coleman can come back next week.
Week 11. Yep.
You know what? I would probably wait for Gordon. I'm still thinking his broken hands.
So if you had Coleman right now, and let's say you could just pick up a guy for free on the waiver wire right now, you would drop Coleman for Gordon.
Okay, this is keeping this in mind. I mean, if I'm going to be caring about weeks 14, 15, 16, I have a pretty good team, and Coleman's not been contributing to it already.
Right.
So I would take a shot on Gordon because I'm not relying on Coleman. If this was week 3 and Coleman's like this guy that I really needed, and Gordon was 5 weeks out, then I would go the other direction.
I think I would rather roster Coleman.
That's okay. Yeah,
but I own Gordon in a bunch of leagues too, so it's not like I am hating on him.
Speaking of Gordon, you heard he ran a 4.340.
Oh, really?
Recently, like
2014?
No, as in this week.
Really? Ran a 4.3?
That's what the Twitterverse is saying.
Football guys.
And 280 characters or less, mind you.
Yeah, football guys had their daily updates and they posted in there how he said he pretty much all of college and all of pros, he was either drunk and or high.
Right, yeah.
Imagine what this guy's going to be when he's sober. He's a little bit older, but he's still, 26, I want to say?
Yeah.
Not that old.
No, he's totally in his, he's actually in his prime.
He could still get out there and jog around a little bit, get open.
Hey, I'm super ecstatic because I only had Gordon in one dynasty league, and I spent like 40 of my last 43 bidding dollars. There was 200 to start on Gordon in the one league he was available in, and I got him. So now I have him in like 25% of the leagues that I'm in. So that to me gets me excited.
How insane would it be in this season of injuries that we've seen all these guys get hurt, Johnson and Beckham and Rodgers and Olsen, and the list goes on and on and on, that somebody ends up winning $250,000 because they rostered Josh Gordon, deployed him in week 16.
Droned him out there.
Yeah, and he goes like 10 for 190 and 2 touchdowns. Stranger things have happened.
Puts him in body bags.
I'm already excited for the playoffs. I'm already excited for the not that I want the end of the season to come, but it's creeping up on us.
The NFL needs a redemption song. With all the crap that's been going on, they could actually use this. How about a little bit of good PR for them for once?
That's what Roger Goodell's been saying for years.
That guy, he walks out of his house and it starts raining.
Yeah, that's true. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for hanging out with us tonight. That's going to do it for our show. I want to thank Ryan Poole, Dave Gerzak, the FFPC, Rob Rice, and, of course, you. We will be back next Friday at 10/9 Central with another great guest. High Stakes Lowdown next week. We have the 29th team in the FFPC main event right now, 29th place team. Former Kentucky overall champ Justin McCord and David Hubbard on that show next week. So definitely give that a listen on Thursday morning. Thanks so much. I hope the ball bounces your way this weekend in Week 10. Your weekend officially starts now.
This has been another episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com that was broadcast live and heard around the world. Eric and Dave will be back next week with more analysis, interviews, and advice from a guest much smarter than they are. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk with you again next week.
Big dog stay on the court, blow the whistle. Blow the whistle. Blow the whistle. Blow the whistle. Where you get that from?
Hey, Bucks are still winning by 2, Balky.
Yeah, I know. I have to watch the end of this game. Hey, Rob is just telling me, you realize we made 4 I Got 5 on it tonight? That's insane. I'm telling you, this is going to be the biggest year of I Got 5 on it ever. Listen.
I feel like God.
To my wife who's listening, who actually has a birthday on Tuesday, I'm sorry in advance.